This is Twit.
So, YouTube, where to begin? I should begin with the newest stuff, which is that YouTube has announced this morning that they are going to go even farther to ban extremist hate. So this was the blog post this morning on the YouTube official blog, our ongoing work to tackle hate. They say and point out, we've always done this. We've always had a great policy, blah, blah, blah. They also, wow. They also say some of this content has value to researchers and NGOs looking to understand hate in order to combat it. So we're exploring options to make this content available to them in the future. But meanwhile, we're taking another step in our hate speech policy by specifically prohibiting videos. And here are the criteria. You're always looking for, what are the criteria? Videos that allege that one group is superior in order to justify discrimination, segregation, or exclusion based on qualities like age, gender, race, caste, religion, sexual orientation, veteran status. So this would include, for example, videos that promote or glorify Nazi ideology, which is inherently discriminatory. Really? That's good to know. Finally, we'll remove content denying well-documented violent events like the Holocaust or Sandy Hook. We begin enforcing this policy today. No one knows, but it's estimated that thousands of channels will get banned. But it will take time for our systems to fully ramp up over the next several months. YouTube has been under continuous pressure. Most recently, the Louder Crowder channel. YouTube, this story came out yesterday, that Crowder, who is a conservative, it's really more like I watched a little bit of it. It's more like a morning show. He's kind of copying, I would say copying to some degree, Howard Stern. He's been critical of a Vox video columnist, Carlos Maza, attacking his sexuality, his ethnicity, making fun of him in a kind of, shock jock way. So at first, YouTube said, nah, you know what? This kind of does not violate our policies. We're not going to shut down his channel. This morning, they announced we are going to demonetize. We're going to, so he has a channel, still Louder with Crowder, but update on our continued review, we've suspended this channel's monetization. We came to this decision, YouTube tweeted, because of a pattern of egregious actions that's harmed the broader community and is against our YouTube partner program policies. So they're not blocking it, but they are going to keep him from making money. Oh, sorry. There you go. I was wondering why it was so quiet over there.
Oh, hey.
You'd been muted.
I saw something else, and I don't know how true this was, but said that he wasn't fully demonetized, that if he takes down his T-shirts or something else, I don't know. It's all in flux. It's all in flux.
He had T-shirts that weren't exactly anti-gay, but they weren't exactly friendly either. Maza has been, livid, rightly so. I don't blame him. What do you think, Jeff? I mean, you know, Howard Stern's not recently. This is the new Howard Stern, but in the past, he's done stuff like this, right?
No, I don't think he's ever been hateful. But the problem is how you define hate. When I sat in the Facebook workshop on its oversight board, I got uncomfortable that the word, hate speech was thrown around all the time as kind of being anything.
So Crowder called Maza. I won't play the video. I watched it. It's all done in this humorous fashion. He's got his zoo laughing at him. Called Maza a lispy queer and a gay Mexican. That sounds nasty and hateful. I don't know if it's hate speech.
Hate speech, right? That's what the problem. We're devaluing the label of hate speech, and that's what I worry about. So that anything becomes hate speech, and then nothing is hate speech, and that's going to be a problem. We've got to have a discussion about that. I mean, listen. I think that Google's a company. YouTube is a community. YouTube has the full responsibility to have a decent experience, and I think they should take this crap down.
Yeah.
However, there are implications. Right. One is that this does force these folks more underground.
Yeah.
And it's going to be harder to ferret out. And that's always the problem here. And number two, listen, this is the obvious stuff. If you look at something like, and I'm going to get in trouble here, PragerU, It's very slickly done, arguing that, oh, hey, kids, there's a war against men. Did you know that? Hey, kids, the Civil War, was it really about slavery? And very, very slickly done. I learned this from our friend Joan Donovan and Dana Boyd. And the problem is, it's not hate speech. You can take it down, but it's very effective. And the problem for the YouTubes of the world is there's nothing kind of on the opposite side of it. I mean, the extreme of this is you can find lots of videos denying the Holocaust, but not so many verifying the Holocaust, because who thinks you need to?
Right.
Well, in this world,
you don't see a lot of videos saying the world is round.
Right. Who thinks you need
Actually, if you do, it's solely because of so many flat Earth videos. In other words, it's bringing out the demonstrators. No, wait a minute, slow down. It is round, and I can prove it. Now, I have to say there is a certain hypocrisy in YouTube waving rainbow flags, celebrating Pride Month. On the one hand, and in fact, they financed a documentary called State of Pride, and on the other hand, allowing homophobic slurs on some of their channels.
But okay, was this bad enough for banning?
Well, again, is it a neutral platform, or is it a community?
That's a really tough question. Yes. Yeah,
and it's fine to say this isn't in my community. And to the idea that this would go further underground, in a lot of ways, I'm okay with that, because like my kid is on YouTube, for example. My kid isn't searching out the weird, dark area. She's not on the Reddit, she's on the Reddit /Corgi page, but she's not on the Reddit / I hate the Jews page or whatever. I don't frequent the darker corners of the internet. So, in some ways, I mean, I see your point, Jeff, but I'm also like, if we're going to say YouTube is this fun gathering area for videos, then it makes sense that we should treat it like a community and say, yeah, you know what? Do not call someone a sleazy Mexican queer or something. We don't want that on our site. And we don't want active doxing.
Yes, but then, when I learned this, talking to all these people who do this work, I've talked to people on all the platforms now who are doing this work, and they need rules. So the example I used up online is the Nancy Pelosi slow down speech video. Kara Swisher was saying, take it down. Everybody's saying, take it down. Well, I put right underneath that the video did the exact same thing to Donald Trump.
Yeah, you did it last week. We showed it.
Right. Oh, did I last week? Okay, yeah. Should that be taken down? They need rules that can be enforced with some predictability. Some fairness, I would say.
So what about conversation? And, when you were talking about slavery, for example, and I grew up in Texas. And in Texas, when I was growing up, for all I know, it's still the case, I was taught that the Civil War was a states' rights issue.
There's a big statue right in front of the State House in Austin.
There is.
States' rights statue.
It was in the textbooks. Yeah. I mean, this was something that was taught to me. And it took me until, high school when I finally read the People's History of the United States that I was like, holy shit, I've been lied to my whole life.
One particular right that the states wanted. And it wasn't abortion, by the way.
And so I would say that there are some things that, we're still having discussions about this. And I think in my mind, I would YouTube, you should not have that. But I'm also like, that is not actively inciting hate against an individual, especially an individual who has no power,
right?
Perhaps.
Right. Well, the worst thing, you're right, is that when other people get inspired by it and they have no power to deal with that, that's the real problem here.
So I don't know if there's a lot of real problems here, but we have to think about what the end result of some of the videos would be and how much agency the person being attacked has to solve it, rectify it, or protect themselves, perhaps. And that might be another way to think about how we formulate these rules. So are you attacking an individual? Are you attacking a whole nation? If you're attacking a whole nation, that sucks and you're a real jerk. But is that enough? I don't know. So that's one way to maybe think about this. It's not going to get rid of everything.
But the other question, and I'm playing devil's advocate here. So
sure.
Again, I think that the community needs to have community standards and needs to be responsible for them. So I'm But I'm a free speech advocate. And I think generally this notion that we can tamp down and get rid of and play whack-a-mole with what we consider bad speech is a real problem. So the post that I wrote, I explored this idea that I talked about a little bit last week, that regulating content is inevitably going to be a mistake. Regulating content requires that you have context about the intent and the impact. And so what you're really regulating is behavior. And that's harder, but that's what's really happening here. And so what we have is governments and media people saying to the platforms, you must regulate this behavior. We don't want to do it. It's your job to do it. We're not going to set the rules. We're not going to define anything here. It's harmful. You're going to get rid of this. Well, they're regulating behavior. And that's okay. We should. Should you regulate bigotry? Yes.
Okay, well, hold on. Stop using the word regulate just for fun and accuracy, because this is not a government. So let's talk about.
No, but there's also, but it stretches to that, like the UK harm.
Don't stretch right now, because that's a slippery slope. We're not going to go there. So just for fair argument, let's call it what it is, which is
moderation
guidelines or moderations.
Moderation, yeah. Okay.
I think it's important to look at, and I'm going to stick with this because I do think this is a good distinction to talk about, and we don't usually talk about it, is how far that content goes. And I know moderation is tough, but I do think if I am a person who's being attacked and I bring something up, that it is, and YouTube does have community guidelines already in place. I think they need maybe a better process for people making complaints and determining if they're legitimate and taking it down quickly. And I think there's that same, and maybe like you said before, maybe it's a court kind of structure. Because I think, you could argue that Pelosi versus us slowing down, or someone slowing down Trump, those might be enough in the public interest or newsworthiness, I don't really know, that you would keep those up. But attacking an individual is probably not. An individual that is not a public figure, for example.
Right. Do you think so there are systems. It's new and we're still trying stuff out, but we've got systems. For instance, with the Pelosi video, Facebook would pull up additional links and sources, perhaps, or say there's some question about the authenticity of this video. By the way, the video seems to have disappeared completely from Facebook for whatever reason. But I think that we seem to be making progress, perhaps, in not necessarily pulling stuff down, but adding additional information. Is that sufficient?
Yeah, so that's what Facebook did with Facebook, and I talked to people there about this. They will confess that the primary problem with the Pelosi video was they didn't act quick enough. It took too long for them to see what it was. Facebook always says we have three actions: we can downgrade, we can add, we can kill, and we can add information. They try not to kill for, I think, decent reasons. Downgrading is them taking personal responsibility, or corporate responsibility, not to promote something. But
that's really, by the way, the big question with Google as well, which is their recommendation engine promoting this, inadvertently promoting this stuff.
That's where they step in, and that's where their role really is.
I think it's sufficient to say don't promote stuff in most cases.
I think generally
let it grow organically. And then add that third thing and add information.
You say people need to know this. So the problem there is there isn't sufficient research and sufficient data to know the impact of those informational boxes. We do know in the case of Facebook that when they added things that said this had been challenged by fact checkers, that created more traffic for it and more people believing in it.
Isn't that weird? But you can't fix stupid. I mean, honestly, there's only so much these platforms can do.
Intervention, you got to be aware of the intervention's impact as well. So
I think that's doing the right thing, not blocking it, not banning it, adding context, not promoting it either. In other words, staying fairly neutral and adding context on it. That seems to me the right thing. Anything more seems to me weighing in a little, putting a thumb on the scale a little too much.
Well, it kind of depends on, I think some of the stuff you would want to put your thumb on the scale more. Like some of the stuff merits greater intervention. Not everything, but some things. And I would say like attacks against an individual person rise to that occasion.
Yes. Okay, I agree with you. But those things are illegal too. I mean, there's certain things.
Or actually, I would also say if you could definitively prove that this is bot activity, I would say that might rise to the occasion.
That would be a good one too. If it's not real people, if it's being done in a concerted campaign for other reasons, maybe.
Well,
but I watched last night. Bots. I watched Cabaret, the original Bob Fosse 1972 Cabaret, which
like, let's make this connection.
Are you ready?
Money,
I'm ready.
There's a lot of Nazis in it, and there's Nazis. The movie is about Berlin during the rise of the Nazis. I know people think it's about life is a cabaret, and I guess on Broadway originally it was, but by the time Fosse got a hold of it, it became a movie about the rise of Nazism. But it did it kind of.
No, it was on Broadway too. The original book was
about that. Yes, Broadway was a little happier. Fosse added some stuff and decided to make it a little bit grimmer. But nevertheless, in some ways, showing it without commentary, or maybe the way he juxtaposed images, perhaps, is more powerful than saying, no, don't show any of that. So showing stuff in context versus burying it, I'm not sure burying it is always the right. I mean, that's the solution Germany has chosen. They don't want to see anything like that. So I don't know. But I think the risk of burying it is you forget it.
Well, yes. And I think some things probably should be buried, but they're always going to come to light eventually, I guess. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
as human beings, we love making the other evil and wrong and bad. It's a very natural thing to do. So instead of pretending we don't do that, maybe we should show it and show it in context and show.
That's the key. I think that if we think we can protect.
Even when you show things in context, people will take what they will.
And as I said, there's no fixing stupid because people are people.
You can't put a condom around the world's brains.
Yeah, I think that's the real risk. I think a lot of people would
in the first place.
It's a great image, though. I think that's the problem, is that there are people, and maybe Elizabeth Warren is one of them, who want to protect everything, and you can't.
Yeah,
you can't. And so, and maybe the electorate is stupid. I think there's a lot of evidence.
Well, the cure here is education.
Yeah, let's promote education. Let's give people the tools they need to judge these things. But if somebody's going to look at Louder with Crowder and say, yeah, those gay people lisp, I hate that. What are you going to do? There are people what are you going to do?